Have you ever watched family vlogs on YouTube? If you have, you might be very familiar with Myka Stauffer and the controversy surrounding her channel. If you have no idea who that is, will the HBO docuseries An Update on Our Family be something you'll even care about? This limited docuseries looks at the complex world of family vlogging through the lens of one family's story and the sudden online disappearance of their adopted son. Okay, so I was pretty clueless going into this. It's a 3-episode docuseries that focuses mainly on the actions of Myka Stauffer and her husband when it came to their adopted son. Viewers noticed that the boy was appearing less and less in their family vlog videos, and then all of a sudden, he just wasn't there. But other suspicious activities began to occur online and then on their YouTube channel, finally leading the Stauffers to make a statement saying that they had rehomed their adopted son, to which the internet basically tore them apart. Now, this show gives a lot of detail on the YouTube space, and even more focus on the family vlogging sphere within YouTube. We hear from not only other vloggers who were either acquaintances of the Stauffers or those that followed them, plus we get social media experts like Sean Cannell to weigh in on some of the technical details of how YouTube and its algorithms work. And as somebody who knew nothing about the family, this was a very informative examination. We get a bunch of accounts of how people investigated what they believed was happening, diving deep not only into massive speculation, but also some clever sleuthing. And when all is said and done, this is informative and is going to leave you having a good grasp on the situation and several opinions on the Stauffers' actions, both supportive and negative. But something that I really can't wrap my head around is that with the weekly release schedule, the documentary buries the lead. And outside of some very quick and cursory mentions at the very beginning of episode 1 for the mystery, controversy, and blowback that the Stauffers were at the center of, the majority of the first episode, it doesn't even begin to get to the actual impetus for the docuseries. It doesn't even leave the audience on a cliffhanger, setting up how the adopted boy suddenly was absent from the family's persistent uploads. I mean, that's the hook, at least for anybody that is unaware of all the happenings. And if my wife hadn't clued me into a lot of the backstory details, I would have been hard-pressed to want to continue to the next episode. Luckily for me, I have all 3 as screeners, so I could immediately go to the next to hopefully get the mystery in the story, and then ideally some answers too. Now, I appreciate the technical insight to bring everybody up to speed on how YouTube works and what's needed to trigger the algorithm so the content is shown to more people. Because really, if you're not a content creator, why in the world would you even be concerned with that back-end stuff? But the episode also uses its time to establish all of the interviewees who will be weighing in on the story. And I appreciate that it gives them credence as experts within the family vlog space. I mean, they're not just randos who have 12 subscribers on YouTube and uploaded a video once back in 2018. These people that are interviewed, they have background and experience in the online vlog world. We also get to hear from the independent journalist who delved into this story, wrote a tweet, and then exploded the entire scenario within the zeitgeist. She details her process and how she even began examining the Stauffers, which leads us to further interviews with other journalists and what they uncovered. Now, there's a ton of archival footage that the production uses to show the rise in popularity and fame of the Stauffers, as well as some other family vloggers. Sometimes it's heavy-handedly building a case that the family was exploiting their children, pregnancies, and then eventual adoption for popularity and monetary gain. And it makes sense. I mean, the supporting evidence of sponsorships illustrates how lucrative this form of business could be. But we also get to hear from sponsors about why they use influencers in their marketing and then the role it plays versus traditional advertising. We also get to see a deflection or two from sponsors who engaged with the Stauffers and then have since severed ties. And it's a little comical at the reactions, mostly because the business entities, they're embarrassed by the uproar that was created and how then it reflected on their brand. As we got to the 3rd episode, while the information is still intriguing, it does begin to get a little repetitive. And that then made it feel that the entire thing could have been reduced to just 2 episodes by lengthening the first and the second just slightly, then removing the third altogether. I mean, there's an opportunity to give us a more efficient presentation, spending less time with some of the other vloggers, especially because they do circle back to topics and scenarios often. There are also some experts we hear from who offer great insight, but feel somewhat redundant with what they share. We get to hear from a child psychologist about how difficult the adoption process can be and how actions have different effects on the children, especially if they have cognitive delays or they're neurodivergent. But we hear from another counselor who was also an adoptee, providing their experience from two different fronts. Now this, again, it's valuable information and detail, but it kind of doubles down on ideas that have already been addressed. So here's how I think this all boils down. As a docuseries, An Update on Our Family is highly informative, examining the details of Myka Stauffer and her family while also providing supporting and opposing viewpoints and experiences from others who have made similar journeys, along with technical details of YouTube and vlogging and insights into the investigative portion of the story. If you were unaware of all of the hubbub that surrounded this YouTubing family, it's eye-opening, aggravating, disheartening, also sad, presenting a side of the video world that could be completely foreign to you. And I appreciate the storytelling we get, never assuming that we know the inner workings of this wildly popular family vlog. But if you are familiar with Myka Stauffer, this doesn't offer much in the way of new information. Chances are you followed at least some of the story when it broke in 2020, even if you'd never watched them before that. So you're now already acquainted, maybe even have your own opinions on how right or wrong the family was, which after seeing this, I think everybody is going to have a very strong opinion one way or the other. Now, the information, while dense, it's also repetitive, causing the 3 episodes to feel longer than necessary, and the first episode does itself a disservice by not creating a captivating hook for those unaware of the story to tune in for subsequent weeks. This is good for a weekly watch, but will ultimately be more satisfying as a binge of all 3 at once. There's no sexual nudity, some profanity, and no violence, but some descriptions and accusations of violence towards children. Now, as a reminder, I don't give couch ratings to documentaries, but I certainly recommend checking out An Update on Our Family, especially if you're unfamiliar with all that went down. All right, so have you seen any highly engaging documentaries lately? I'd love to hear about what you watched in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.